In the dusty towns of the Wild West, tales of outlaws danced through saloons and campfires. Among the most notorious was a man named Jackson, Wild Jack, McGraw. With a reputation built on daring heists and hair-raising escapes, he was both feared and admired. Wild Jack wore a battered hat that shaded his sharp green eyes and had a mischievous grin that hinted at trouble. Many claimed he could shoot a rattlesnake off its tail before it even knew he was there. Despite his wild exterior, those who knew him well whispered of a code buried beneath the bravado. He did not rob from the poor or harm the innocent, sticking to wealthier targets instead. Jack's heart carried secrets, tensions between outlaws and lawmen were constant, but he never intended to become just another villain in a tale of vengeance. One fateful afternoon, while riding through the sun-scorched plains, he spotted something unusual on the horizon, a stagecoach under siege. His instincts kicked in. It wasn't just an opportunity for adventure but also a chance to show that perhaps even an outlaw could do something right. With determination fueling his next move, Wild Jack raced toward the scene. As he got closer, he felt excitement mixed with apprehension. The shouts of bandits echoed in his ears, urging him forward. Little did he know that this bold act of heroism would lead to an even greater challenge, one that might test his courage like never before. In the rugged landscapes of the Wild West, the stagecoach served as a lifeline for towns and travelers alike. These sturdy wagons, pulled by galloping horses, connected remote settlements to bustling cities, carrying mail, goods, and people across expansive terrain. The clattering of wheels and the call of the driver were familiar sounds that signified opportunity and adventure. For many, it was more than just transportation. It represented hope and progress in a land where possibilities felt endless. On this particular day, the stagecoach was carrying a special passenger, the schoolmarm, Miss Clara Hayworth. Clara was unlike many women of her time. She was fiercely dedicated to her students and believed that education could change lives. With her books packed tightly in a worn leather satchel, she set off to reach the small town of Riverbend, eager to bring learning and inspiration to eager young minds. As the stage rattled over bumpy trails, Clara gazed out at the picturesque but perilous beauty of the landscape. However, she felt a mix of excitement and uncertainty swirling within her. She knew that teaching in such a remote area meant facing challenges beyond her classroom walls. Little did she suspect that danger was already lurking ahead, waiting to challenge both her resolve and her fate. At that moment, with Jack approaching fast, fate had intertwined their paths in ways neither could foresee, setting the stage for an unforgettable encounter. As Wild Jack galloped across the sunlit plains, he suddenly noticed commotion up ahead. Dust danced in the air, kicked up by frantic horses struggling to pull a stagecoach while a group of bandits surrounded it with menace. His heart raced as he recognized the dire situation unfolding before him. He could see the driver fighting to maintain control while the schoolmarm's face appeared, a mix of fear and determination etched across it. Jack felt a conflict brewing in his chest. He was an outlaw, known for his reckless choices that often led to chaos, yet something deeper urged him to intervene. There was a moment when he considered the risks. What if he failed? What if this was a trap meant to lure him into danger? But the thought of leaving an innocent person at the mercy of those ruthless bandits pushed him forward. He had always believed that not all heroes wore badges, and today, it seemed, he might have to wear that title himself. Spurring his horse into action, he drew his trusty revolver, aiming carefully as he approached the chaos. Shouts from the bandits rang out, taunting their prey and making threats that only fueled Jack's resolve. He steadied his aim and thought of Clara, the brave schoolmarm who deserved a chance to fulfill her mission. In that instant, he made a choice that could change everything for both of them. As the bandits closed in, Clara's heart raced, but she refused to be paralyzed by fear. The sight of the menacing figures surrounding the stagecoach only fueled her determination to protect the precious cargo of books and supplies meant for her students. She thought of their eager faces, hungry for knowledge, and knew she could not let them down. Clara grabbed her satchel tightly, her fingers brushing against the worn leather that held not just books but dreams and hopes. "Stay calm," she shouted to the driver, trying to instill a sense of bravery in the face of danger. Her voice trembled, but she stood firm, ready to fight for what she believed in. As shouts erupted from the bandits, echoing around her, Clara felt a surge of courage. She was a teacher, and teachers didn't back down. They faced challenges head-on. When one of the bandits approached the stagecoach, demanding valuables with a sneer, Clara's instincts kicked in. She reached into her satchel and pulled out a wooden ruler, the only weapon she had. It seemed foolish in the face of real danger, but it symbolized her readiness to defend what mattered most. "You won't take anything from us," she declared, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her veins. In that moment of bravery, Clara stood as a beacon of hope, unaware that Wild Jack was racing toward them, drawn by her fierce spirit and unwillingness to back down against overwhelming odds. As Wild Jack closed in on the stagecoach, he quickly took stock of the situation. The bandits, at least 4 of them, were shouting and threatening Clara, their rough voices cutting through the tense air. Jack's heart pounded, but his mind raced even faster. He needed a plan. Charging in blindly would put everyone in danger. Finding a hidden outcropping nearby, he dismounted quietly and crouched low, watching his adversaries. The sunlight glinted off the bandits' weapons, shining like a beacon of challenge. Jack knew that he had to be clever to outsmart them. He whispered to himself, "One at a time is how this will go down." Raising his revolver, he made his move. With a swift motion, he shouted, "Hey! You miscreants," drawing the bandits' attention away from Clara. As they turned to see the source of the voice, Jack fired into the dirt near their feet, sending up a cloud of dust. The bandits jumped back in shock, momentarily distracted by the sudden commotion. "Why don't you pick on someone your own size?" Jack taunted, stepping into view with a confident stance. His presence surprised them, and for a moment, they hesitated, giving Jack the chance he needed. With the odds still stacked against him, he knew that quick thinking and daring would be essential. With adrenaline coursing through him, Jack prepared to face these men head-on, not just for his own reputation but for Clara's safety as well. The standoff had begun, and there was no turning back now. Just as Wild Jack felt the tide turning in his favor, with the bandits momentarily stunned by his bold tactics, a new sound pierced the air, the thundering hooves of approaching cavalry horses. From the shadows of the trees lining the trail emerged a troop of U.S. cavalry soldiers, their uniforms bright against the rugged backdrop of the plains. They rode hard and fast, rifles at the ready, and Jack's heart sank as he realized the potential consequences of this unexpected twist. "Drop your weapons," a commanding voice bellowed from one of the soldiers, his rifle aimed directly at Jack. The situation shifted dramatically. What had felt like a victory was now fraught with peril. The bandits, sensing their advantage slipping away, began to retreat, but Jack remained frozen in place, caught between 2 threats. "Hold your fire," he shouted back, raising his hand slightly to show he meant no harm. But as he glanced at Clara, who was still clutching her wooden ruler defiantly, he knew he had to act quickly. The cavalry saw an outlaw confronting bandits. They didn't realize he was trying to protect the schoolmarm. Jack's mind raced for a solution as tensions escalated. With rifles aimed at him and uncertainty swirling around them all, he had to find a way to convince both sides that they were on the same team, before it was too late. The stakes had never been higher, and one wrong move could lead to disaster. The standoff reached a boiling point as Wild Jack stood with hands raised, desperately trying to communicate. "I'm not your enemy," he shouted, his voice echoing across the dusty landscape. The cavalry soldiers, interpreting his raised hands as an indication of surrender, only tightened their grips on their rifles. "Stand down, outlaw," one soldier yelled back, eyes filled with suspicion. Meanwhile, the bandits took advantage of the confusion to regroup behind nearby rocks, whispering among themselves about the sudden appearance of the soldiers and the outlaw who dared to confront them. "What's he doing? Is he with them?" one of the bandits questioned nervously. They could see that if Jack was captured or killed, their escape would be compromised. Clara watched in horror from her position by the stagecoach, her heart racing at the escalating misunderstanding. "No. He's here to help," she cried out, but her voice was drowned by the chaos around them. The soldiers remained focused on Jack, believing he was simply another outlaw trying to escape justice, while Clara's pleas went unheard. In that tense moment of miscommunication, Jack realized that time was running out. He had to think fast to bridge the gap between the bandits and the cavalry before both sides acted on their misconceptions. "Listen," he shouted again, his voice filled with urgency. "We're all in danger here." His plea hung in the air, desperately seeking understanding amid rising tempers and uncertainty. Every second counted as Jack aimed to turn this volatile situation into a moment of unity rather than conflict. With the situation teetering on the brink of chaos, Wild Jack knew he needed to act quickly to convince both the cavalry soldiers and Clara that he was not an enemy. Taking a deep breath, he shouted again, "I'm here to help. You have to trust me." His voice carried with urgency, cutting through the din of rising tempers and uncertainty. The soldiers hesitated, glancing between one another. Jack could see doubt flickering in their eyes. Raising his hands a bit higher, he added, "Look. I just saved her from those bandits. We need to work together." He gestured toward Clara, hoping she would reinforce his claims. Clara's heart raced as she took a step forward. "He's right. He came to save me." The schoolmarm's voice broke through the noise, her conviction shining through. "We can't afford to fight each other now." She glanced nervously between Jack and the soldiers, realizing that if they didn't unite, both sides would miss their chance to escape the real danger. Jack seized the moment, quickly outlining a plan. "The bandits are regrouping. If we don't act fast, they'll come back stronger. We can take them together." His eyes locked onto the leader of the cavalry, pleading for understanding. Time was of the essence. Jack prayed that his words would resonate with both groups and turn potential enemies into allies. As the sound of hoofbeats echoed again in the distance, this time from the approaching bandits, he knew that they needed resolve and cooperation now more than ever. As the sound of hoofbeats grew nearer, Wild Jack quickly rallied everyone around him, his tone urgent yet filled with determination. "All right. Here's what we'll do," he began, looking from Clara to the cavalry soldiers. "We form a defensive line. I know these bandits, they're sneaky and will try to flank us." Clara nodded, her initial fear now replaced with fierce resolve. "I can help too. I may not have a gun, but I can create distractions." She brandished her wooden ruler, her eyes lighting up with determination. "I can use my voice to draw them out into the open." The cavalry leader, still skeptical but willing to listen, agreed. "We'll cover the perimeter and be ready for a surprise attack. We can't let them regroup." He motioned for his soldiers to spread out and take positions behind nearby rocks and bushes. Jack took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their trust resting on his shoulders. They quickly formulated a plan. Clara would shout at the bandits while Jack and the cavalry readied their weapons from concealed spots. With everyone in position, it was time to act. "On my count, we strike." Jack whispered fiercely, adrenaline coursing through him as he kept his eyes trained on the distance. With a combination of Clara's distractions and the soldiers' firepower, they could turn the tide against their common enemy. In that moment, former enemies became allies united by a shared goal, to protect one another and put an end to the bandit threat once and for all. As the dust settled and the bandit threat was neutralized, a sense of relief washed over Wild Jack, Clara, and the cavalry soldiers. The unlikely alliance had proven successful. Together they had not only thwarted danger but also forged bonds that transcended their initial suspicions. Jack felt a newfound respect for Clara's bravery and resourcefulness, and he could see in her eyes that she no longer viewed him solely as an outlaw but as a partner in a fight for good. "Thank you for trusting me," Jack said, his voice sincere as he stepped closer to Clara. She smiled back, her earlier fears replaced by admiration. "You were courageous out there, Wild Jack. I couldn't have done it without you." The cavalry leader approached, nodding in acknowledgement. "Well done, all of you. Today, we showed that even the most unlikely allies can come together when it truly matters." His words echoed the theme of understanding and teamwork that had emerged from the chaos. As the stagecoach resumed its journey, Clara insisted on continuing with Jack riding alongside them, now an unexpected escort rather than a feared outlaw. They exchanged stories, laughter, and plans for the future as they traveled toward Riverbend. In that moment, both Clara and Jack realized how their paths had changed forever. The experience had taught them valuable lessons about courage, the importance of unity, and the power of rising above labels. Their adventure might have started with danger, but it ended with the promise of friendship and hope, reminding them both that true character often shines brightest in times of crisis.